Please note that this content is for adults only. Viewer discretion advised. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe, like, and share. Hello everyone and welcome back to another live stream with me, Gisela K. This is Grizzly True Crime. And today we're going to be studying one of the worst cases out of France in a long time. A terrible sexual predator and former husband. The Gisele Pelicot case is what we'll be looking at today. Thank you so much to everyone who's emailed this to me, who's messaged it to me, who's requested me to cover this. I have wanted to, it's just I haven't been able to, and it's been terrifying, honestly. This is a very scary case, so please know it does of course come with a trigger warning. There's lots of talk of sexual abuse and things like that, right? So we're gonna go over a little presentation, see a couple of clips. And I'm sure many of you have heard of the case. If you haven't, don't worry. We're going to go over the whole timeline. Karina, thank you for being a member for 11 months. Welcome to all my moderators, patrons, members, subscribers. And of course, I see someone earlier was saying that they didn't realize that they automatically got unsubscribed. So make sure that you are subscribed with all your notifications on, because sometimes when YouTube updates things, then, you know, you might have to resubscribe. So just check, okay? Just check that you are. All right, so let me do this. What a brave woman this Giselle is. My goodness, like, her strength is really something to admire. Interrogation file says, I have something for you. Is that so? Oh, thank you so much, and thank you for being here. All right, so please like and share so that others can also learn about this case and this information if they haven't yet, because of course saying a couple of YouTube naughty words, which I wish that wasn't a problem on YouTube, but it is. They want it to be a very PG-13 platform, but sometimes then it suppresses the reach of the stream. Then nobody will get to see the information. So the way to override that is if you like and share, then YouTube knows, okay, they want others to see this. Majestic Unicorn, thanks for being a member for 11 months. To everyone in Florida, sending so much love. I hope that you are safe and okay. We are thinking of you. All right, yeah, so Jennifer Fox already says she is a warrior. She really is. Okay, so I'm going to make it nice and big so that you guys can see. So this case, as I say, it takes place in France. All right. Gisele Pelicot. I hope I'm saying it right. I know there's some French people in the chat as well. Let me know. I'll do my very best. I don't speak French, but I always try to get pronunciations right. I do my very best, right? So, Gisele Pelicot met her husband, Dominique, in 1971, when she was 19 years old in the, oh dear, French people are going to be like, yeah, say that village. Villiers-sous-Marne, near Paris. They got married in 1973 and they ended up having 3 children together. So they had 1 daughter and 2 sons, and the children are also now, you know, at the trial, which we're going to go over what's happening in this huge case. But they are equally, of course, devastated. The whole family's like shocked of what the hell happened for 9 years, okay? Now, they're around the same age, by the way, Giselle and Dominique. So they'd been married for over 50 years when his ultimate, and I mean ultimate, betrayal and crimes were exposed. And we'll go over how that all happened. They had overcome many financial difficulties together, mostly due to his addiction to gambling and living beyond his means. His brother actually said that, yeah, he was a spender. He was one that lived beyond his means. He also asked his brother to, if he could loan 75,000 euros from him, I think it was, and he never paid it back. So, but Giselle, you know, she was a faithful wife, stuck by him through all the ups and downs, you know, him with her as well. So everyone thought, what a power couple, what a great loving family, the example of how to be, right? All the friends and family also extremely shocked for what happened here. Thank you, Hazel Eyes. I really appreciate that. So Giselle had actually divorced her husband in 2001 to prevent her being liable for her husband's debts. That at the time was the lawyer's advice. It was the best thing to do. But then friends and family say they did actually, you know, maintain the relationship, and they actually got officially remarried in 2007. She is now an international icon of strength And she is shifting the narrative in sexual abuse cases where she says the perpetrators should carry the shame and not the victims. I really like that because so many times, I know there's so many survivors here in this community of sexual abuse, whether, children, adolescents, adults, all phases of life, I understand. And so knowing that, victims often carry so much shame with them. Ooh, this woman is changing. She's flipping that script, which I am loving. She's like, yeah, in the courtroom, play the videos. Show everything. Put these men to shame. I really like that. So that's a huge change, right? To actually take this all on and not just take her husband on, but over 50 men. That is so crazy. Oh my goodness. So she's an international icon of strength. That's a picture of her there. She's 72 years old now. And while she's been through a lot of mental health challenges because of what happened to her, she is still fighting the fight. And she says she wants other women to know you are not alone. You can get through this. Now, the Pelicot wedding was in 1973. And remember, I told you they remarried in 2007. So I found some pictures. I'll link all my sources in the description box afterwards if you want to go and check out all these articles. I truly wish that I could just spend weeks in this rabbit hole, but that you won't see me because I'm going to get stuck in it. I'm just reading all the things, watching everything. There's so much that we could discuss, but let's just do an overview of the case today of what's really going on here. So in the late 80s, apparently, and I'm only telling you this for context, not to victim blame or shame at all, okay? I want the context for the psychology of this man. Giselle apparently had an affair for 2 years. But the couple overcame this. They had 2 sons and 1 daughter together. They lived in this cozy village of Mazan. I think that's how you say that. So I just wonder about, his psychology with that. His psychology in general is like, oh my goodness, what a horrific perpetrator this one is. He admitted to his crimes as well. So I don't even have to say allegedly. He's admitted to what he's done. Now, Dominique's brother. This is a picture of Dominique. There's not many pictures of him out there. Of course, remember we recently discussed a case out of Switzerland, and I was telling you about the European privacy laws and things like that. And so sometimes they don't show pictures of the perpetrator, and sometimes also not of the victim, and sometimes they might even change their names. So because Giselle has decided, no, I want this on blast. I want to put these men to shame. She has waived her right to remain anonymous, and so she's out there with her name, with her face, identity, and there's not, as I say, there's not many pictures of him. We only really have sketches of him, but I did find 1 or 2 pictures, like the wedding one and this one. So now Dominique's brother says that he was the youngest, and that Dominique was the youngest, and he was also the golden child who was adored and pampered by their parents. They grew up on the Chateau de Oblay estate, sorry French people, home to a 19th century castle in the Centre Val de Loire countryside, where their father was in charge of electrical maintenance. Now, if it is the one I looked up a few of these chateaus. It really does look like a beautiful castle property, like such beautiful grounds and gardens and things like that, right? So they had 80 hectares, Dominique and his brother, to enjoy, to play around on. They went frog fishing, they built cabins, they had an idyllic childhood. Apparently they would get on the backs of sheep, and do rodeo style, pretending they were horses or whatever. Poor sheep, but still they were kids, okay? Maybe they were nice and light. But okay, they really had a lot of fun on that property. And the brother says an idyllic lifestyle. However, Dominique himself, and we see this pattern all the time when it comes to perpetrators, right? Domestic abusers, sexual abusers, they do a little thing called DARVO, deny, attack, reverse victim offender. Then they might also be all frail in the courtroom, all old and frail, and get people to feel sorry for them. He's already pulled that at the trial, like, oh no, now he's got like a urinary tract infection and prostate problems and abdominal pain. So he's been to the hospital and delayed the trial a little bit. So he's already done that. But then also he claimed on the stand that actually he was sexually assaulted by a male nurse as a child after being admitted to the hospital for a head injury. Now, his mother apparently made inquiries, and the hospital said that only women were on duty the night that he was in hospital. So His mother, his brother, they all questioning him like, what is this story all about? As if it's an excuse for what he did to his wife, which we're getting to. So his brother actually too believes that he's only telling this story to victimize himself, that's what I call Darvo, and minimize his responsibility for what he did to his wife. The brother says that Dominique was a prude. He couldn't stand dirty jokes. If we were watching television and there was talk of swinging, for example, he was the most shocked. It's crazy, this double personality. It's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So, from what we're going to find out, he most certainly lived a double life. He really had something else going on beyond that mask, right? Okay, so in 2010, Dominique was arrested in Paris for upskirting, which is taking photos up the skirts of females, and he got a €100 fine, which is not a lot. So that was obviously at that point not such a big deal. They caught him there. They just said, listen, we're going to fine you, but there's already a red flag there. We're going to see more red flags later. And so from 2011 to 2020, for 9 years, his daughter recalls that he spent all of his free time at his computer, describing that his eyes were glued to the screen while he sat there vaping, and then they'd all go to bed. The whole family is like, okay, night, night. And he'd still just be sitting up all hours of the morning and night on the computer, doing who knows what. But his wife and children did say that their family life was blissful. They had no idea what would later be exposed about Dominique. In September of 2020, Dominique was caught by a security guard upskirting female shoppers in the supermarket. He apparently had a camera hidden in a bag. Now, huge shout out to that security guard, because he saw something. I mean, he is the security guard, okay, or he was, but he saw something and he caught the guy in the act and he did something about it, called the police. And because of that, what would have been one upskirting incident, of course, he had the record from 2010, well, just a fine. But because of that incident, the police were able to take Dominique's phone. And what they found on the phone, there was like, whoa, this is a big investigation. They went to his computer and they found all sorts of things, which is why him and 50 other men are on trial today. Okay, so again, thank you to that security guard. And also to one of the victims who filed an official complaint, which is what started the investigation into Dominique. The police had taken possession of his computer and phone and discovered the darkest secret that he had documented. This freaking perps always documenting things for 9 years. Okay, we're going to read about his little folders. I think it's in the next slide, but it's horrendous, okay? So brace yourself. Now, he was convicted of the upskirting offenses, received a suspended sentence in 2021. So that was it at that point. But the police were still looking into all these folders and analyzing all this digital data, and they were horrified. So police investigations revealed that he was actually frequenting online chat groups for voyeurs and swingers, boldly asking other men, you, like me, you like RAPE? Like you like that, huh? Me too. Oh my word, connecting over liking sexually assaulting women. That's pretty hectic. We've also studied before, we've discussed that oftentimes voyeurs, 80% of voyeurs turn out to be violent offenders. So that's interesting as well. Eventually, he was turning his fantasies into a reality, inviting men to come over to the house for those 9 years, okay, between 2011 and 2020. For 9 years, he was inviting men to come over to the house, but with very clear instructions. They had to park away from the house, okay, just in case somebody saw the vehicle there or whatever. So he covered his tracks, had to park away from the house. They had to not wear aftershave. They were not allowed to smoke in the house because he didn't want his wife to catch on what was happening to her. So no strong smells, no condoms. Oh my word. And they had to undress in the kitchen because he didn't want any risk of them leaving behind an item of clothing and any of his family members finding that clothing and being like, whose is this? Right? Wow. He's 71 years old now. So he's on trial now for 4 months. This trial started in September and it's going to last until Christmas is what they say. All right. So he drugged his wife by adding tranquilizers or sedatives to her food and drinks. Then he dressed her in lingerie and lay her down on her own bed without her knowledge. So he basically roofied her, knocked her out, took her clothes off, put lingerie on her, and put her on her own bed. He then had over 72 men between 2011 and 2020 come over to their home to sexually assault her, and he sometimes participated as well. It's alleged that he also sometimes had sex with the men too. I've seen differing statements from all these articles I'm reading. Some say he would sometimes get so turned on by them sexually assaulting his wife that then he would have sex with the men, or sometimes he'd have sex with the men first and then they would sexually assault his wife. But what? And she had no idea, okay? So they would at times spend up to 6 hours SAing her when she was unconscious and has no knowledge. To this day, she has no knowledge or memory of what happened to her, but she had to confront the evidence that the police showed her, which were all the photos and videos that they found on his phone and computer documented. Their daughter recalled an incident in 2018 when her mother fell asleep at the dinner table and her father acted like a very concerned and caring husband and said, "Oh, shame, this happens. Don't worry. I'll take her to bed." And he scooped her up and then he carried her off to bed. And the daughter thought, wow, she loved her dad. Like, what a caring dad. What a nice guy. He really played the nice guy role. Oh my word, this guy everywhere he went, right? So, but the daughter now in hindsight remembers that because she's like, whoa, I remember that time when the mother was sitting, Giselle, at the table and they all are having dinner, and it was obviously in her rosé is what the daughter said. She was sipping that and suddenly she said she was like a rag doll. She was completely out of it. Now, who's also going to suspect that like you're being roofied in your own house? Whose family members are going to be like, whoa, she's definitely being drugged. You just wouldn't think of it. So then Giselle started saying that she was struggling, with debilitating fatigue, memory loss, or amnesia. She actually started to wonder if she had Alzheimer's disease. So she was reading up on that and asking doctors about that. Guess who was taking her to the doctor's appointments? Dominique. Yeah, driving her up and down to doctor's appointments. Let's investigate what this is all about. Shame. What's wrong with you? So tired. Then she later suffered gynecological problems, extreme weight loss. Her hair was falling out. And then she was diagnosed with STDs, sexually transmitted diseases, 4 of them. Okay, and she'd been exposed to HIV 6 times. What did her husband do? He blamed her. He said, "Oh, you're having an affair. Basically, again, aren't you? That's why I mentioned it earlier. There was an affair earlier. Then they were back together and all of that." So he's like, "Oh, what are you doing with your days, huh?" More like, what was he doing with her evenings? But he blamed it on her. She was so confused. Can you imagine being her? Being like, I don't know what's going on with me. There's all these like blank times. She's thinking, am I like dissociating? Have I got amnesia? Is my brain not functioning properly? Now she's got gynecological problems. Now she's got STDs out of nowhere. And she's like, what in the hell is going on? And she was still investigating all of this, a little confused, right? Very confused. Actually, she had no idea what this could be from, right? Pixie Dust says, thank you for all you do. Thank you so much. Yeah. And Janet says, OMG, victim blaming piece of cuck. He really is all the things we say here at Grizzly True Crimes. Like, baby boy, he's in victim mode. He's completely the golden child as a kid. I'm not blaming the parents. I'm just saying he was like the favorite, the golden child, the sweetheart, the innocent brother, the prude, the nice guy, right? Oh my word. And then he's a victim blaming piece of cuck. Yes. Okay. So her husband said, what are you doing with all your days when I'm out there, working and cycling and doing all his things? So she was diagnosed with 4 STDs and was exposed to HIV 6 times. And her health problems were in reality from being serially, RAPED, sorry for YouTube, while she was completely sedated. Giselle was a company manager for 20 years before the family moved to their cozy little village. They initially lived somewhere closer to Paris, and then they moved south to this Mazan village, which only has 6,000 people in it, right? So the whole village is in total shock because of all the men, 51 men on trial, okay? And there could be more, they just couldn't identify the others. But of all the men on trial, they're like, whoa, these were like firefighters, police officers, dentists, doctors, people in the village, brothers, husbands, all of that. Wow. Okay. So she was a wife, a mother, a grandmother. She adored her family, obviously including her husband. In fact, when they arrested him in 2020 for the upskirt incident, not the 2010 one when he got fined, 2020, okay? She stood by her husband's side. She was like, what the hell why would you accuse him of that? She had no idea, okay? So she was married to him for over 50 years when she was confronted with the information that the police discovered on his phone and computer. Trigger warning. He had folders of the abuse. He made the folder, he titled it Abuse, obviously in French words, but it's all been translated into English now. Abuse, my slut, and her RAPE. And he detailed the acts that took place and even wrote down some of the perpetrators' names, which is great for the police because they're like, we'll find all those. So then they had names, they had video and photo evidence. That really helped the investigation. It's kind of like, it reminds me of how Rex Heuermann was documenting a couple of things and that also busted him for some crimes, right? That was serial killing. This is serial RAPE, which is devastating. And to his wife. His own wife, somebody who he met when they were both 19. They'd been together their whole lives. My goodness. So she said, I was a dead woman, and these men take advantage of me. They defile me. They treat me like a bin bag. Can't imagine. To come to terms with all of this because she has no memory of it. She just had to see all these horrifying videos and images. Now, shockingly, there was a file called My Daughter Naked. Yes, that's a picture of the daughter on the right-hand side there and one of the sons. My Daughter Naked was another folder where she was wearing her mother's underwear and she was also unconscious and she's like, oh my word, I was drugged too. She wrote a book. Apparently it's a 176-page book. I haven't had time to look yet if it's been translated fully into English. It's obviously in French. But she wrote a book about her father, and here are some quotes from it. She said, you light the fire on your little barbecue and you start the grilling. You raise your head and you smile at me. Around the walls of the house, never stop reflecting this beautiful sun that brings us all joy. Tom swings, Paul brings the wine, a terrace, a summer, a family. I hate you. Have you always been unhinged? And we would have seen nothing? Can we miss a father? But who are you, really? She also explains the ultimate perversity. Dad, who always had money problems, didn't take advantage of Maman, which is her mother. He did it purely for his own pleasure. Now, obviously, it wouldn't have been better if he made the men pay, but still, I get what she's saying. That it's like, wow, you're just going to let men come into the home for free, just welcome. Feel free to sexually abuse my wife in front of me. I'm going to be filming that though. Like, what? Oh my goodness. Sure, this case it's really shocking, right? This case it's one of the most shocking I've come across. Now, Dominique and 50 other men are on trial for sexually assaulting Gisèle between 2011 and 2020. Some of them came to the house multiple times. The trial started in early September. Now, I say early because some of the articles I've seen, they say September 3rd, some say September 2nd, some say September 4th. I think it officially kicked off on September 4th, but let's just say early September of 2024, and it's expected to last until the end of the year. September, October, November, December. They say till Christmas. 4 months of a trial. 51 men on trial, including Dominique. All right? Rochelle says, where are these men from? He had that many friends or the same ones over and over. So there's at least 72 men on these photos and videos and they detailed and documented, but there could be more. And they were part of this village of 6,000 people, like people who lived in the village. And they were from these sites for voyeurs and swingers, little chat rooms and things like that, right? So now Dominique and 14 men have admitted to what they have done, but the rest claim that Gisèle consented in some way. And they thought it was just a sexual game that the couple played. Giselle rejects these claims, and she says she wants every rapist, I'm just going to say the word now, oh my goodness, to be brought to justice. Every single one. She wants them to be brought to justice. The police have messages between Dominique and the men charged, as well as photo and video evidence of their crime. So they are so busted, right? Now, some perpetrators on the photos and videos have not yet been identified. I read somewhere they said, well, the case is closed in the sense of investigating who they are, which I don't know why they say that, but okay, there's apparently 22 of them or so that have not been identified. I wish that they will be able to, and that they could also be brought to justice. So, Giselle took the stand for 90 minutes to testify about the discovery of what had been done to her for almost a decade, telling the world that it actually drove her to want to end her own life, and it also sent her daughter to the psychiatric ward. I cannot imagine how powerful her testimony must have been. Of course, it was all in French, and I've only found a little snippet where they've translated it on the BBC for us. So we'll listen to that little snippet. There are over 20,000 images of his wife being defiled by 72 strange men. I wrote my own name there, Gisela. Giselle is determined to shame her attackers. And she waived her right to have the trial held in private and remain anonymous, because that would be the standard in Europe, especially, that they would keep the victim's name anonymous. They would keep her, off camera and all of that. But she's like, no, bring it on. You could tell the world, here I am. Okay. Now, the suspects, the defendants, actually range in age from 26 to 74. It's a whole spectrum of men from this village. A whole spectrum of French men. The suspects range in age, as I say, and they worked as journalists, plumbers, nurses, IT consultants, truck drivers, and I've seen many other descriptions. They say firefighters and dentists and police officers and all the things, right? Most of the defendants have been charged with aggravated RAPE and face up to 20 years in prison if convicted. In this picture, I hope you can see it nicely. Look there. They obviously have got sketches because the trial is not being live streamed. They don't usually live stream trials in Europe. So she says, thanks to all of you, I have the strength to fight this battle to the end. But shame, man. Like, her just standing there, and look at the picture is of her. I think it's one of her attorneys standing next to her. And then the one that's like watercolored in is her ex-husband. And all the faces, that sea of faces, that's representing the 50 other men. And she's standing up for herself and all other women. She's so iconic and brave, my goodness. And she said it's scary, like, to stand there, and she can just feel, the energy in the room. But she's facing each and every one of these perpetrators. Okay? So then, let me show you this. There's another sketch of her. I always like these sketches, though. They've done very well. And then they've got a list that I found on one of the websites of, it looks like all the names that they're putting out there. These are apparently pictures of some of those perpetrators hanging their heads in shame and like, oh no, because they're playing all the videos in the courtroom for the jury and the public to see. That's also new. That is something Giselle wanted. She said, just play them. Play the videos and make sure that when these men are sitting there, that they are watching what they did to me. Now, the other thing is there's so many defendants that they literally had to build extra, like, defendants boxes to let them all sit where they're supposed to. Can you believe that? Oh my goodness. Now, another thing is, let's quickly see here. Yeah, Luna says they're hiding all their faces. Some of the accused say that they knew what they were doing was wrong, but they feared Dominique and they didn't want to leave his house without satisfying her wishes. Now, you guys are going to roll your eyes a lot now. So it's like eye roll warning time, because I was just like, every sentence I read and researched, I'm like, what? So they were so scared of Dominique. So they just had to do that. Really? Some up to 6 hours, some coming back to the house multiple times, no one running to the police. Really? One was at the house on 6 separate occasions and said that he was just following instructions. That's all. One man excused himself by saying that he assumed that a woman could not have been raped if he had sex with her when her husband was present. Oh my goodness. Let that thought ideology die forever. What? But her husband owns her and her husband's okay with it. So what's the problem? Can you believe that? Can you believe that? Marie says, are they all collectively on trial together? Yes. Yes. This is a massive trial. 51 men are on trial at the same time. Yeah. All right. So Gisele says, of the 50 men, she recognizes only one of them who had been at their home discussing cycling with the husband. Her husband also loves cycling. Her husband apparently wanted to cycle one of the routes of the Tour de France with his son. So he liked to cycle a lot. And so she remembers this one man, one out of the 50, coming to the home and talking about cycling. She even saw this man in the village and they greeted each other cordially. She saw him at the bakery and she said that she would have never imagined, she would have never known what he had done if her husband's horrific secrets had not been discovered. Like, these men were in the village. Like this one. Hi, Mrs. Pelicot. Like, how are you? Oh my goodness. After knowing what they had done, that is so sickening. Oh man, I feel so sorry for her. Sure. Now, in addition to the charges pertaining to his family members, Dominique is under investigation for 2 sex crimes that occurred in the 1990s, according to the Times. The rape and murder of a 23-year-old in 1990. What? When I read that, I'm like, sorry, rape and murder. He's a suspect in 1991, which he denies, and the attempted essay of a 19-year-old in 1999, to which he has admitted. Both victims were real estate agents. He worked in real estate for a bit. Okay, as was Dominique, at least for part of his working life. In early October, the UK Times and Daily Mail reported that France's cold case squad had identified Dominique as a potential suspect in 5 other crimes. Essays and 1 murder perpetrated against female real estate agents. So look at the timeline. I'm sure they're going to be looking into a lot more, because if you're going way back to 1991, 1999, oh my word, they got married in 1973. This guy, is he a killer? Wow. I mean, I won't actually be shocked, but this crime is already so shocking. I don't even know. So they say the investigations reportedly surprised Dominique's lawyer, but police plan to compare Pelicot's DNA to evidence from each of the old unsolved cases. So we're going to have to keep our eyes and ears open for this to see, well, what do they find? Are there any other cases that they help to solve now that they have his DNA and all this evidence, right? Forrest Nelson says, thank you, Gisela and moderators, for all you do. Thank you, Forrest Nelson, for all your support. Okay. It's just, I can't believe this. She said, Gisele said, no woman should suffer from being drugged and victimized. I no longer have an identity, she testified. I don't know if I'll ever rebuild myself. She has since changed her surname, but she's using Pelicot at the trial. Okay. Man, can you imagine? The broken trust. Everything that she ever knew changed. Okay, so now I want to show you this clip quickly here. Let's just make sure it's boosted for you. Okay.
In a courthouse in the city of Avignon, one woman's voice shook France to the core today. This is Gisele Pelicot, walking tall, choosing to face the cameras as she came to tell her bone-chilling story. On trial here are these 51 Frenchmen.
Let's just look at them again. Look at this. Look at the defendants lining up to go into the courtroom for this trial. Have you ever seen anything like this in your life? Melissa Loves True Crime says he's the daddy of France. Yeah, he's really dangerous and bad, right?
On trial here are these 51 Frenchmen, all accused of raping Pelicot as she lay unconscious in her own bed, drugged by her own husband. In the courtroom, facing that husband, pictured standing here, Pelicot described the moment her happy marriage collapsed, when a French policeman showed her pictures from her husband's laptop, pictures of strangers raping her. Her testimony spoken here by a translator.
It was hard to recognize myself. Then the officer showed me a second photo, and a third. I asked him to stop. It was unbearable. I was lifeless in my bed, and a man was raping me. My world fell apart. I'm speaking now not for myself, but for all the women who are drugged and abused.
After giving evidence, Pelicot kept her composure in front of the media.
I think I've said everything I could. It's not easy, there is a lot of pressure. We're going to have to fight to the end. This trial is going to last 4 months.
Pelicot's husband, Dominique, has already confessed to everything, to repeatedly drugging his wife over the course of more than a decade. But many of the other men, also on trial for raping her, have told police that either they didn't realize she was unconscious or they assumed her husband's consent was enough. But that kind of argument has provoked fury.
Can you imagine? Her husband's consent was enough. I mean, is it a problem if she's unconscious? I don't know. He was okay with it. He invited me over. Whoa, this is so scary. Deborah says, this makes me wonder how many others are doing exactly this, filming and drugging without consent and in secret. Then you say, oh yes, did he? Wow.
Today, the husband's lawyer said other accused might argue it was sex, not rape. But when the videos themselves are shown in court, there will be no doubt what really happened. Pelicot's own daughter attended the trial this morning. She's campaigned for the issue of drugging and raping to be taken far more seriously across France. And outside court, activists called for the courage shown by one woman to lead to wider changes in laws and attitudes. Andrew Harding, BBC News, France.
Here's another clip I have for you.
A crime that shook France and the world.
Donc on attend que lumière soit faite sur la manière dont ça a pu être.
Taking part in a consensual sex.
Violer durant une dizaine d'années la même femme en toute impunité, s'organiser sur Internet en toute impunité, alors qu'il y avait quand même des alertes sur l'état de la santé de la victime, la solution chimique.
This is the story of Gisele Pelicot, a 72-year-old woman who was allegedly raped by unknown men for over 10 years after being drugged to sleep by her husband of 50 years, Dominique Pelicot. The incident garnered global attention after Giselle told a French court of her horror as the trial in her case began on September 2nd. She took the stand for the first time on September 5th and said that police had saved her life by uncovering the abuse, as her daughter and 2 sons watched the testimony. In almost 90 minutes of testimony, she recounted her mysterious health problems. For years, she said, she had strange memory lapses and other health problems and thought she might have had Alzheimer's. She spoke about a fateful meeting with the police in November 2020 when she was invited to speak to investigators. During the meeting, she was shown images of the sexual abuse orchestrated and filmed by Dominique. She was shown what she described as barbaric pictures, where she remembered she was lying motionless on the bed, being raped. She told the court, for me, everything is falling apart. Everything I have built up over 50 years. I just wanted to disappear. I asked my son-in-law to stay next to my daughter when I told her that her father had raped me, and had me raped by others. She let out a howl, whose sound is still etched on my mind. She told the 5 judges hearing her case that she...
I just want to pause it there because they've got some music going. We don't want the stream to be shut down. I'll also link all these videos and sources in the description box if you want to go and read further as well. There's a lot to this case, yes. Okay, so...
She had only plucked up the courage to watch the video footage in May 2024. She said that none of her abusers alerted the police while stressing that even an anonymous phone call could have saved her life. Giselle said that up until the police approached her, their marriage had been generally happy, and she and her husband had overcome a number of financial and health-related difficulties.
Okay, so I will link this video. It's a lot of what we went over now as well. So I'm going to link this for you if you want to check it out. I just wanted to see if there's any more there of her testimony that's been translated. If you find any more of that, please send it to me. If there's something that you think I should cover more in this case, please send it to me as well. My email is grizzlytruecrime@gmail.com. Maurice was asking, so this started when she was, 59. So this happened to her in her 60s. What? This husband, who she'd been married to for over 50 years. 53 years at the time when she found all this out. What? Can you imagine? Like, she had no idea. She really just thought, damn, like in the last, 9 years, because it was between 2011 and 2020. There's a lot of memory loss, brain fog, amnesia. What is this? Is it Alzheimer's? Like, now she's got health problems. She's going to the doctor. They're telling her you've got STDs. Like, what on earth? It's just, oh my goodness. And if I think she's going to be such a powerful voice for change as well, because if that's what all of those men thought, but the husband consented, so that's fine, right? No, then that really needs to be addressed, right? Natalie said not one of those 50 plus men spoke out. Let that sink in. What happened to not all men that many like to shout? This is disgusting on so many levels. It is so disgusting. This case is very difficult to talk about, but I'm glad that we were able to discuss it. I will keep you posted because I'd like to see, how many of these are actually going to be convicted. If they are convicted, they're going to face up to 20 years in prison, which I know doesn't sound like a lot. There's always different sentences all over the world, right? But still, then do your 20 years. I wonder how many of the 51 will be convicted. And wow, that husband, what's he going to turn out to be? It's already monstrous. Now they're looking into all these other cold cases and other crimes and things, right? Wow. Okay, yeah. Angela said 59 when it began. And Mina says 60. So around then, when it began, exactly. Kathleen said G has explained how he was caught in the beginning. So if you guys missed that, please check it out. All the details. I shared the whole timeline and exactly how he was caught and what happened. So I hope you'll check out the presentation. Please leave your comments below as well. I'd love to hear what you think about all of this. Again, if you want to send me additional information and things, please do. As I say, I've probably got about 40 tabs open right now. Just like so much information. There's just so much. So if there's anything else that I want to tell you, I'm going to, right? We'll meet again. So make sure you are subscribed with your notifications on. And I really hope that she will get the full justice that she deserves. Of course, there's over 20 perpetrators that have not been identified. So that's very unfortunate. But I hope that she will be that giant voice of change. I mean, she's truly a heroine now. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I'll see you again very soon. Please check out my YouTube shorts and my community tab as well, because I'm always updating you there on trials and cases and what's happening. And please do stay safe. Thank you, mods. See you soon. Bye.